Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Okay. So technology, guys, we got to roll with it. That was awesome.
Got to roll with the punches.
Welcome everybody to Advanced Job Development. We're the first episode, so we're going to work out all of the kinks for everybody here. So thank you for working with us.
Yeah.
We started this series today because throughout Trillium, there was a big request for people to get further job development training. I think that staff were really interested and excited to learn more about different tips as their careers progress. I know that we all have had that awesome training from Val, like right when you start usually. But then there's not really much after that. Michaela's recording.
Oh, is she?
Oh, good.
So this is our first episode of what's going to be a year-long course of advanced job development training. So welcome.
Yep. And ours is stop wasting your time, how to ask the right questions and get what you need. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So the reason that this training in particular came up was because here in Kitsap, we were able to hire a outside consultant to come in and shadow our job development processes. He actually sat through a job development meeting. He shadowed 3 separate staff, and he just kind of wrote up a report about all of the things that he learned and all the ways that we could improve our processes. One thing that we learned is that as employment consultants, we waste a lot of time. And we're not always asking the best questions that we should be asking. So we're not really setting ourselves up or apart as employment consultants. And so for me, I know that's really important. I know that I'm guilty of all of those things. And so our training today is aimed to kind of help you
work smarter and not harder.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh. Sorry, guys.
No, that's great.
Seems to have completely frozen on me. Sorry.
Okay. So right now we're just going to get our slideshow talk rolling, but
There we go.
Sorry, guys. My goodness.
while we're doing that, Rick, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So my name is Rick. I work for the Pierce team, and I've been with Trillium for about 5.5 years. One of my favorite things about my job is job developing. I really enjoy having the opportunity to go out and really engage in the community, kind of get to know different businesses, different managers, and create kind of a relationship with them, and really have an opportunity to educate them on what supported employment is. And, so the way I kind of look at job development is not only finding jobs for people, but creating relationships with businesses. And it's just really something I really enjoy doing. So
That's great. And Rick and I were just talking about how the Trillium logo is 3 leaves. So 1 leaf for the business, 1 leaf for the client, and 1 for Trillium, or business client Trillium. Yeah. So, those are all equally important. So all the leaves are the same size. So I've been with Trillium for 8 years. I was the first Kitsap hire outside of Heidi, who's our wonderful manager. And I've just always loved JD ever since my first day. I love going out there. I talk way too much, so it's awesome that I get paid to do that. And it's just so much fun for me to learn about all the different jobs that people do in the town that I live in.
I'm Alexa. I've been at the Kitsap office for about 1.5 years. I am scared of job developing, I'm not going to lie, but I do enjoy the process, and I definitely have my own way of doing it since I am a little bit timid when it comes to job developing. So I do definitely like to take my time in preparing to job develop and really to set myself up for success and to make sure that I'm not wasting time while I'm out there and to be confident when I am out there.
And one thing I think that is really cool that Alexa pointed out was that you are really intentional and you take your time when you set up to go job development, because I think it just kind of talks about how different we all are and how differently we all do the same job.
Definitely. Yeah.
I'm super fly by the seat of my pants. So
Yeah, and that's one of the things we want to just like head this whole thing with, is that there isn't really one right way to do it. And that shows with us. We do job develop very differently, and we all have our different strategies. So all of this is just our experience.
Just a basic framework that we can build on, and use to develop our own personal styles and skills.
Tips that we have.
Yeah.
Personally.
all right. So why are we here? We're here again because people had asked for advanced training with job development. We learned so much from having Adam come in and shadow. I mean, it was really eye-opening to see how much time we waste every day. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I mean, if you're comfortable doing it, raise your hand. But how many of you go into a business and ask if they're hiring? Or how many of you go in there because you see a hiring sign and you think, done? We've all been there. And I think we all continue to have so much to learn.
Yeah, so one of the kind of goals we have too is to really nail it in that we're job carvers, not job placers, and that's a kind of ties into not wasting time too. We're not just driving around to different businesses with hiring signs, because it doesn't really get us anywhere. And we're going to talk a little bit more about why it doesn't really get us anywhere in a little bit later. So,
And just to add on that, I think if you can go in kind of somewhat prepared and everything, and asking the right questions, if you can engage the managers, the employees to really talk. People like to talk about themselves, and if you ask the right questions and you can kind of engage them in a good conversation, it's amazing where that conversation can go. I mean, I can't say how many times I've been out there job developing, and it turns out that we're talking about someone's personal family, and maybe one of their relatives has a disability, or so you can kind of connect and create some really good connections with people going in.
Can I side note really quick? Hey, Karen, Carrie Ann, can you push the mute button? Corinne, sorry.
Sorry.
Because we're just hearing a little bit of background noise right here. Also, I wanted to play on what Rick was saying, that people hire people. They don't hire businesses. And so if you can create that relationship right off the bat with the hiring manager or anybody in the business that you're trying to job develop, that's your ticket right there.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked a little bit about the "are you hiring" question and how that might be a time-wasting question, because maybe the business has no idea what we're doing or what our purpose is when we're there. So we want to talk about the difference between job placement and job carving. So what is the difference?
Yeah. So everybody that we support, for the most part, is not able to do everything in the job description. I think job descriptions are so big. How many times do you guys hear everybody has to do everything?
Quite a bit.
Doesn't make sense. I don't do everything in my job description. I do you guys.
Right.
Sorry. But so in job carving, you're helping the employer see the benefit of having a specialized person that is going to complete those tasks. And that's really important.
I mean, anyone out there, can you give us some examples of where you were just out looking to fill a position, have someone hired, and how much it really didn't work out? I mean, can anyone think of a good example of a really bad job placement where it just was a waste of time and it took a lot of valuable time?
The juicier, the better.
Yeah. Anyone?
No. Crickets. Okay, Alexa.
Yeah, in Kitsap there was just kind of a place and pray kind of situation. We had a business that just opened up in town, and they were hiring, and we went in and they were hiring for a dishwasher, and they wanted to interview someone that day and place them the next day, and they did, and we did, and we kind of just hoped that it would work. That person had been looking for a job for a while, and we really just wanted to make it work, and it didn't work because it wasn't the right fit client business wise. And so that is one example of just a placement and how it didn't necessarily work. That's not to say it doesn't always work with a place, if you just place somebody, it depends on that. It just completely depends on every single client in business. But in that situation, and for the most part, we would prefer to carve positions with a lot of the clients that I work with. What about success stories?
Well, and I think too, going on that, I think that had we had a relationship and gotten to really know the business, we could have found more unmet needs that would have been a better fit.
Right.
For both
And you can even
environment,
break them down, and that can
Absolutely.
often lead to more than one job, at a particular business. A good example that I can think of in Pierce County, we created a relationship with a local coffee shop, and they initially, I think, talked a lot about how if they're going to hire somebody, they need to run the cash register, they need to know how to make coffee, they need to do pretty much all aspects of the job there. But after communicating with them on more than one occasion, going back, checking in and everything, we were able to carve out a position for a young man that's been there, I think, over 3 years. And basically, he is just in charge of stamping cups. And it's a valuable, what he does for them is valuable because it it frees up a lot of the people making the coffee and, doing the barista part, not to have to do the stamping. And, he comes in a couple days a week and he loves his job, and it's worked out really well. So, yeah.
Great.
I think a lot of the time too, when if we are able to place somebody, we're like, oh, well, that was fast. We didn't waste any time. But in the long run, that person did lose the job. Mm-hmm. You had to restart the relationship. You did waste a lot of time throughout the whole thing. So that's where that time wasting thing comes in. If you just place somebody and it isn't the right fit, you might lose a lot of time in the long run. Even though it might take maybe 6 months to develop and carve that perfect position, you might waste more time in the long run the other way.
And I think we've talked about it before. Val has always said that it takes between 8 and 12 touches with the business in order to get a successful placement. That's so true, guys. I mean, how long have you been job developing at your best business? Right? So.
Yep.
We're going to try to play this video. I'm going to try really hard to not.
I'm going to do it.
Nope, that didn't work.
Can everyone hear us okay out there?
See the thumbs up?
Okay, good.
Cool. So give us just 1 second. We've got a really good clip for you.
Okay. This should. Sorry, this is so.
It's
different. It's completely different than when we practiced. Yeah, okay. I'm not sure if we'll be able to. I don't want to waste time by doing this.
So Michaela, we've got a link in our slideshow, and I know that you're pretty tech savvy. Are you able to play that link, that video?
So as long as when you place the video link in there, oftentimes when you're supposed to slide the, so there's an actual way to import it into the slideshow presentation to have it be an active link.
Are you able to copy and paste it?
Yeah, that's what I would do is I would type it into a new browser, enter the video, and then switch over your screen to the new screen.
Oh, wow.
So do you want to do it on your end?
All right, ready guys? Can you guys see what we have?
You might have to. Is it still the slideshow, or can you guys?
Michaela,
yes?
Can you do the screen sharing?
Yeah, so hold on. So you'll have to stop screen sharing. Give me
Thank you guys for being patient.
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll have to stop your screen sharing on your end really quickly. So I just released it. Okay, give me just a minute.
Sure.
Thank you, Michaela.
Of course. Here.
You go new share.
No.
A second. Okay, I need to go to, okay, I'm about to log in. It's just taking a little time for my internet to get started.
Okay.
Come on, go faster. Okay, so we got youtube.com
No, don't be
/watch question mark B = S VSGKJFSI-8. Okay, press enter,
No.
and oh goodness, youtube.com. Okay, watch V equals S.
Yeah, we could just. I think
SI, it's not pulling up. It says video unavailable.
That's okay, Michaela.
Yeah.
You know what? Everybody will have access to this PowerPoint afterwards.
I think I know how.
And watch it. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Alexa thinks that she might have the capability. We'll try this
Oh,
once.
there it is. Yep, I see it.
All right,
I got
guys. Let's play it up.
There we go.
All for this too. Oh my God.
Just forget it, let it go. Excuse me, I think you forgot my bread.
Bread, $2 extra.
$2. Everyone in front of me got free bread.
You want bread?
Yes, please.
$3. Something for you.
Good afternoon. One large crab bisque to go. Bread.
Beautiful. You're pushing your luck, little man.
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you.
There. One mulligatawny and what is that right there? Is that lima bean?
Yes.
Never been a big fan. You know
Right
what?
after this.
Has anyone ever told you look exactly like Al Pacino? You know, Son of a Woman.
Very good. Very good. You know something? Something for you.
There you go.
There you go.
All for that.
All right, guys.
Yay.
So this is where you can unmute. And why do you think we played that video?
Anybody?
Hello?
No.
Amy's team, why do you think that we played this video?
Couple different approaches, couple different reactions.
Okay. Was that good customer service?
No, it wasn't.
Thank you. Is that Miranda? Who was that? I think that's both,
Okay.
both of those things are definitely why we thought that would be a good approach to it. But
Yeah, so if you really got to know the business and you knew that they might need somebody that performed well with customers, you probably wouldn't put the soup man in that job. And so that was just kind of talking about a bad job match.
Right.
and also the customer or the different ways to go about it. She was trying to connect with him there at the end, but God know when you're getting shut down. And she was getting shut down.
Big time.
Reminded me of high school.
Oh God. So what now?
Okay, this is kind of the meat of our presentation right here. We, on top, as you can see, 30-second speech, do you use it, give examples. I think in general, what we are taught to begin with as far as job developing is kind of what you see in the bubble there, just talking about what we do, real generic kind of statement and everything. And it's really a good framework to build on. But I think what I like to encourage when I'm kind of teaching people and what I do my own self is really kind of personalize it, and it can change between different participants that I might be job developing for, or if I'm not out there for a specific person, maybe it's just going out and job like JD Attack Day, stuff like that. It wouldn't be as specific, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think that it goes into pre-call planning too, that know where you're going and if it's appropriate to use like a 30-second speech, like what's written on the screen.
Right.
It might not be. You might go in and you might know the person, or you might know something to connect, and you might take it a different route. So that leads into pre-call planning. I think the 30-second speech is definitely have one under your belt for those situations where they just kind of stare at you and have no idea what's going on. And it's just to introduce yourself, use it just as an introduction, but definitely to tailor it to where you are and to what you want out of why you're there. So, but that goes into pre-call planning, and why pre-call planning or just prepping to JD is important.
And I know for me, I don't use one typically unless I'm maybe feeling nervous or I'm with a newer staff and I want them to feel really comfortable and get used to using it. I think definitely when I first started job developing, I used one all the time. I even had it written down in my back pocket sometimes if I was really nervous. And so I think that, you know, while that's a great tool to use, I think that it is important to be flexible in what your speech looks like and where and when you're going to use it.
Right. And building off the pre-call planning, I kind of prefer to call it not pre-call planning, but just pre-planning. Being prepared before you even leave the office or wherever you're meeting. Really doing as much research as you can on the businesses that you will be going out and job developing at. Seeing if you can figure out who to ask for, you know, hiring managers, maybe an important employee that works there. A lot of times I like to go in advance before I even think about approaching a manager or anyone in charge, and really just kind of be a fly on the wall and just get a good idea of what people, you know, do in that business, you know, who does what, kind of take notes, see where maybe they're lacking. Maybe, for example, their menus might be really not being cleaned on a regular basis, you know. Just going in and really doing, I guess we could call it an environmental analysis, but.
And I think listening to all of that, I'm like, man, that sure does sound like a lot of time to put in. But I think it goes back to what I said earlier, where if you do these things, you're setting yourself up for success when you do go in and ask for that meeting, because maybe you know who to talk to. Or you're preparing yourself and doing the research so you have the right questions to ask. So you're not asking those silly questions that aren't getting you anywhere and are wasting time while you're there and maybe making yourself look like you don't know anything about what you're doing or where you're at. So it sets you up for success when you do prepare.
And I think to build on that, I think if you have an idea, you know, of attack before you leave the office, if you kind of make an agenda of what businesses you're going to go to and do your best to try and lump them into whether they're in close proximity to one another, or maybe you take a day and you are visiting warehouses as opposed to offices or different industries. You can really prepare yourself for more success. You can kind of dress the part. I mean, who would want to go take a tour of a warehouse with high heels or you know, being real formal? But yeah, just really preparing before you go out and attack, you know, do the job developing. I think the more you can prepare, the better off you'll be.
Well, and I think it also kind of sets us apart as a professional, right? Where you're going in there intentionally. I used to think that I was giving really, really good customer service when I was job developing, because I would drive to every single business and talk to the person for every single follow-up. And sometimes I was driving 20 minutes out of the way to go and talk to a manager who wouldn't get out of his office, right? And how many of us do that? I mean, we all go out, how many miles are on your car right now? Because I'm pretty sure that your miles are really high.
Right.
We all have high miles out here. And so, you know, Adam, who was our business consultant that we had hired here in Kitsap, he pointed that out. And he said, hey, every single person I shadowed drives from business to business. You're parking, you're walking in the door. That's a half an hour, let's say, per business to walk in there and be told that the manager can't talk.
Right.
I don't think that we as professionals always utilize all the tools that we have available to us. We've got email, we've got phone, we've got Facebook and LinkedIn. And I think that part of what we could be doing to improve is utilizing those tools.
And even looking at when maybe managers are accessible. I know just by doing this for, you know, the last 5.5 years, I've noticed that on Mondays, a lot of managers, whether it's retail, with restaurant, whatever, that's a bad day to go visit businesses because they either are working on the weekend and they're off Mondays, or they're having management meetings on Mondays. So just, common sense thinking about that. And
What if the Seahawks won on Sunday? Did you say
well,
that?
yeah, that was something we were discussing too. As far as dressing the part or whatever, like you want to wear something less, formal if you're in a warehouse. One thing that has really worked for me in the past, even if it's before the game on a Friday, like Blue Friday, or if the Seahawks really played well on a Sunday, if you have, and some people aren't real sports fans or anything, but if you have something that can start a conversation, like a little Seahawk shirt or something, it's amazing how many times you can really connect with people just by little things like what you're wearing, or,
So can I wear a Patriots jersey? Because people hate them, right? So.
Most people in the
It's a
Northwest
conversation started.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Any way that you can connect with a manager is going to help you out. I know that in my first meeting, I will try really hard to find something that I have in common with a hiring manager or a business manager. I have 3 kids, and sometimes I might see a picture of a kid on their desk and start a conversation that way. I might try to relate to, there's a number of ways that you can relate to a business manager.
And again, going back to what I said earlier, I think if you can ask really engaging questions and get someone to start talking, people, I think, naturally like to talk about themselves. And if you can ask the right questions and really get them to engage in the conversation you're having with them, I think it really is a valuable tool to have. So,
Yeah, I think that's all kind of goes into planning too. And then the rest that we have, like first, all these goals, those are just ideas. I don't think there's any one way to do this. It's never like you pre-call plan, then you go in, then you get a meeting, then you have your meeting, then you tour, then there's a job. It usually doesn't work like that. But I do
there's no clear-cut
what?
process.
So I do think what is cool about job developing and good to know, especially when it comes to time wasters or how to avoid that, is to have some sort of goal. I think that goes into planning too.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I'm going to go to these places today. What do I want?
mm-hmm.
Even if it's just, okay, I need to meet the right person, or I do want to schedule a meeting, or I do want to ask for this, to have that ready to go so you don't go in and just kind of leave with nothing.
Right.
Don't we all have different JD songs too that jazz us up and get us ready to go, JD? What's your song?
I don't remember. I honestly
don't
don't remember.
Do you have a song that you want
I don't
to
really
sing?
have a song, but I like to try and get into the
Zone.
right zone. Yeah, I have words written down here like,
He does.
in Pierce County, we call ourselves Fierce Pierce. And I like to, before I go into a business, I just kind of put myself into a mode where I'm going to have fun. This is going to be fun. I'm not nervous. I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to be confident. I'm going to be intense. I'm going to be passionate. I'm going to really engage and really own what I am offering to the business. And yeah, it's not a song, but it's just kind of.
I do have a song.
Right.
I remember my song. It's the one from Mulan. Let's get down to business.
Oh,
to defeat.
There you go.
Yeah, I remember that. I wrote that down. Yeah, that was.
Yours was making me laugh because all I can envision is Cool Runnings. Have you guys seen that movie?
Uh-huh.
Alexa's probably older than you are because it's like 10 years old.
12 years old.
Right.
Yeah.
But like the guy looks in the mirror and he's like, I see pride, I see power.
That's right.
And anyways, all of that is just to get excited about job developing and to prepare yourself.
And
emotionally.
Sure.
And I just like to look at not only job developing, but for what we do as a whole. Sure, we each have a caseload of people, and ultimately we want them to have jobs, preferably long-term employment. But I think what we do for a living is more, I like to think of it as a movement where we're out there. We're not just going out and asking for jobs for businesses. We're trying to create relationships with them, and just like I think we were talking just jokingly about, you wouldn't marry someone after the first date. I think going in and just trying to create a relationship, and educating the businesses initially, and that could take 2 weeks, it could take 8 months, but not really pushing on the whole idea of, wow, yeah, we just want a job, we'll apply, we want the job next week. just, slowly kind of engaging in a long-term relationship with the business.
That goes back to like job placement versus job carving. We want to get awesome jobs for our clients that last a long time, but we want that great relationship with the business too. Like Jamie was saying earlier, the Trillium flower, like why it's like that. We work for our clients, we work for Trillium, and we work for the businesses as well. We are consultants. So, yeah.
And I think that those long-term relationships, when the first thing goes wrong, that's the business that's going to call you. And that's the business that's going to trust you to come in and fix it. So we have some tips too for after your first meeting and during your job development. I was talking about to Rick, when I do finally schedule a meeting with a manager, the first thing I'll always do is ask them if they have Outlook, and I'll send them a calendar invite. I'm so tired of driving to a business to be stood up or told that the manager forgot about our meeting or that something else came up. And if they're on my calendar and that's on their calendar too, it's so easy for them to reschedule or have that written right in front of them.
I think just when you are direct like that, I know in Miranda on our team, one of the JD meetings a while ago, like the emails, like being so specific, like this is the day and time can we meet this day and time?
Exactly.
Sometimes it sounds, I remember when I first did that, I was like, oh, I sound like I'm just being mean or like meet with me now, but you get more responses that way. I know Miranda had like stats on it.
Well, and I think on our team, for example, Lee Ellen, she really taught me something. Instead of going in and saying, well, can I come see you again? Instead of prefacing it that way, I would say, here, I'm available Tuesday and Thursday of next week. What day works better for you? You give them a couple options and they can't really say, well,
or at least they'll give you a reason. So if you say, oh, I'll stop by next week, they'll be like, okay, bye. And you're wasting that time again, going in, going back, if they're not there. You're wasting that time if you're more direct. I think that's one of the things I would suggest.
Well, and it kind of makes you look like a consultant, right? Not just like a random salesperson that's desperate to get that lead.
Exactly.
You are busy.
Right.
Schedule that time in.
And I have written down here too, I think the longer you do this, you can really get a good read on if you're talking to a manager that really isn't interested, that really isn't giving you the time of day. And honestly, I don't know if it's really something that we're trained for initially, but if you really get a bad vibe or a bad feeling from a manager, or they're just not engaging, there's in my mind, there's nothing wrong with just cutting your losses right there, and maybe you can allow someone else from your team to go in or whatever, but don't continue to just sit and I don't know. I think it can be a waste of time if you're really getting bad vibes. And honestly, I wouldn't want one of my participants to be working for a manager that a lot of times that really don't give you the time of day.
Yeah. So, I think that's a good way to cut your loss.
Yeah, that's a good point too, though, that you have a whole team of people that they might have a connection already there. So pass that off. Don't waste your time going into places that you can't connect with. Other people on your team might and probably will be able to connect with them. So pass along somebody who can, and don't waste anybody's time.
And that goes with knowing your style. I mean, I think that we all have such different styles and such different personalities. I used to love going job developing with Tara because she was so professional, so down to business. Couldn't care less about you or your kids. Really wanted to get that perfect job for one of her clients. Where if I was too connecting and not able to maintain that peace, Tara would be able to just step right in. And I think between the two of us, we were able to connect with so many more jobs.
Yeah, I have written down here work in groups. I think groups of 2 have been real successful in Pierce County. And, of course, we're going to have our favorites that we go out and we do really good. We connect and we, are successful job developing and everything. But I would encourage you as a team to take time and reach out to your fellow coworkers and go out and try and, practice job developing together. You can feed off of one another. I think it's way more natural and less comfortable if instead of going out by yourself, and it's more fun. And I think you can learn from one another, whether you've been here for a year, 6 months. We have people on the Pierce team that, I've been out with briefly, and it's amazing. They come up with something when we're out talking to a business, and it's like, wow, that's so insightful. So it's really good to feed off of one another, your team, and really take time to work together and work in teams.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the more time I think you do get to know your style and really be comfortable with what you're doing, the better you'll be out and feel. And I think inviting other people out to help you learn your own style too is a great tip.
Mm-hmm.
And know yourself, know your style, invest that in yourself. And you know what, honestly, like if you're having a bad day or you're just not feeling your outfit, or you tried to shake your protein shake and it exploded and now you're covered in pink goo,
Yep.
then
Might not
don't
be a good
job
day.
develop that day.
Might not be a good day to job
schedule that.
develop.
We
Yeah.
have such a flexible schedule.
Right.
Work with it. Make the job work for you. Yep.
So we want to leave you with a goal, leave you with something. We have been talking a lot of little things that we've talked about while we've been preparing for this, just what we might ditch doing and start doing to stop wasting time. I think what I had said a little bit ago was that to be more direct and know exactly what I want and ask for it. I think with emails, I think that plays into it. And when going in, I think I saw on your thing, instead of saying when, or say when can I, instead of, oh, can I do this? Or
give them choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to do that, I think,
Contain choices.
yeah.
Right. And you know, if I think it goes back to kind of knowing when they're not interested. You know, some people do string you along. It happens quite often, actually. I think, you know, instead of just trying to beat yourself up, you know, going email after email, and they might even respond to the email, but then you go in and they're not available, even though you know they're sitting up in the office and they're all of a sudden in a meeting. Just using your intuition to know that and maybe pass it on to a coworker and have them follow up. But a lot of times I think we find ourselves going back to the same places over and over again, just because someone said, oh yeah, we might be interested or whatever. But I don't know. I guess that is a tough one to gauge because you do have to use kind of your instinct or your intuition. But I know there's a lot of time wasted in leads that don't really lead anywhere.
Yeah, be intentional with who you're following up with.
Right. And, you know, sometimes just be real. You know, if you do have a minute with the person, just tell them, you know, hey, this is what I do for a living. And I will not be upset if you honestly are not interested in, you know, what we're discussing at the moment. But I'd rather you tell me now instead of me continuing to come in and not badger you, but just checking in with you if honestly you're really not interested.
Sell you a product that doesn't work for
Right.
you,
Yeah.
for your business. So my goal is I'm going to use email more. You know, we've got our standardized email signatures now, so they all look really nice and professional. And I think that, you know, email is such an underutilized tool for all of us. And you guys, I'm going to put a plug out there, but there are a bunch of email templates on the server, and I'm sure that they're on Setworks too.
And they're easy to customize too.
So easy.
It's just a nice template.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, if you think about it, all this driving around that we're doing to talk to businesses, that's procrastination, really. You know, you're listening to your Eye of the Tiger on repeat to try to pump yourself up to go talk to a manager that may or may not be even working that day, when you could just send out an email.
I think also, I know that I find myself not really bringing the marketing materials and everything as much as I could. I think everyone maybe should have a little something in their car that they can run out and grab. I know that I'm really good with my business cards, and I always have them. I mean, I have a spot in my wallet where I like to give them out quite a bit. But with Michaela coming on, we've really stepped up our game with marketing materials and all that. And you know, I think we can utilize those a lot more. I know I could.
So please come up with a goal. If you guys are comfortable sharing it with each other, I think that you should have like an accountability partner maybe. You guys are more than welcome to email us your goals or ideas that you might have, and we can share them out with the team. But I always think, you know, we're in February, so you probably already quit your New Year's resolution by now. So let's start a new one and have that be that you're going to stop wasting time. All right. So in closing, you guys, we can do this. We are all job carvers. We're all job developers. And as professionals and employment consultants, we need to live up to our title, and we need to stop placing, and we need to start carving.
And I also just want to plug, I don't want to like scare people away from applying to jobs if there is like we're hiring, but just know that try to build that relationship like that. But I don't want to scare anybody away, because I do that sometimes, but it might be a way to start a relationship. Or, hey, I saw you're hiring. What is it for? Blah, blah, blah. I just don't want to scare anybody from that. But
Right. And, there's nothing wrong with applying for jobs and then going. Actually, it's a real good practice to, if you see Safeway's hiring, make sure you get the application done before you go in. I guess that would be pre-planning. And then, that almost gives you something to talk about. Hey, I have this guy, Josh. He lives in the neighborhood. I've applied online for him. This is kind of what we do. That's been real helpful for me in the past. So.
And then try to carve out from there.
Right. And talk about the person and what their strengths are, what they're good at, what they're bad at. And, a lot of times really advocating for working interviews as opposed to just a sit-down interview. I know a lot of people, including myself, I'm not real good at sitting down and talking about myself. So if you can advocate for like a working interview, or even have a video resume for some people that have real difficulty that you can present to the employers, that really gives them a good example of their skills, what they can do. And a lot of times that helps with card positions, I think, because they can see, they're really good at this over here, but they're going to struggle over here with this. But they could really benefit the business by just jamming it, a number of different, I can't think of an example right now, but yeah.
We talked a little bit about 30-second speech, but we wrote pros and cons. I think when I wrote that, it was just, it's not always the same. Just know that you might have to switch it up and just be prepared for that.
You might deviate.
Right.
Yeah. Just be prepared for what you're going into and know what to ask for when you are talking to employers. So have those goals to make it easier on yourself too. Mm-hmm. So find your style, be comfortable and confident.
And honestly, it is intimidating going out there and talking to businesses. And I just want people to kind of have some type of a mindset that this can be fun.
It is fun.
And really own what we do and take pride in the people that, we serve. And, enjoy, don't put the pressure on yourself. Go out and really enjoy what you're doing, especially, that's why I like working in teams. Yeah. Just have fun with it. And I think it really shows the businesses when you're coming in, you're in a real good mood. You're not real pressing on them. It's more light hearted approach. And, it should be fun. So, yeah.
I think you do you. So stick with what you know, stick with what you're good at. I think that every single one of us is such a different, unique person. And I think that this isn't a process where it's going to be very black and white. I think that you guys just go out there and you have fun. I mean, how many other jobs are there out there that we get to go and tour an airport in the morning and a pet store in the afternoon?
Right.
How freaking cool is that?
Yeah.
Last slide, we just have we'll send this out or save it to the server or something, but all of these links have different questions that help you gather information about businesses and kind of aren't.
You guys, there are like 25 million questions between these links altogether. I think that it's going to give you, do you want to go to them more? I'm wondering if there's a chat function. I think that this is going to give you some really great questions to kind of find those unmet needs and to get to know somebody. Do you want to read through? I'm so sorry, guys. We didn't see this chat function earlier.
Oh, wow.
So, do not like the idea of some snorkels. Yeah, if people want to chime in and just Any thoughts?
And Christina, I like what you had written, the idea of smaller goals, because you don't want to go to an employer and ask for a job the very first time you go in.
Yeah.
I mean, that's weird.
It confuses people too. They're
very
like,
confusing.
"Who are you? You want a job?" So, yeah. But that's it from us.
Yeah. So, does anybody have any questions? And we'll leave this chat function open.
Oh, it's still up here. Yeah.
Okay, so that we can see your questions as they come in. But does anybody have anything that you'd like to add? Does anybody have any questions that you want to learn more about? Anything that we didn't touch on that you were kind of hoping to get?
Yes. When Rick comes to Clark, we will get jobs.
That's
That's the takeaway of this. Rick will get you jobs.
When are you going to Clark County?
I was down there about 8 months ago, and I think there was a job I think we got. So
Look at you.
Good job.
How fun.
Cool.
Really fun.
yeah.
Well, thanks everybody.
Yeah.
for coming.
I think we're right about 1 o'clock here. Yep. So thank you guys so much. And thanks for sticking around
Come
with
to
the
next-
technology.
Yeah. Thanks, Michaela, for helping.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, next month, go to the next.
Yeah, I
Part in
think
the
that the next
series.
one is coming up and we've got it advertised in ours.
Cool.
Right. I think there's one each month.
Well,
So.
thanks everybody.
Thank you.